Hey everyone, I'm Tricia at Club Scrap with the Rockstar Remix. Now remember, a remix is a collection we've done in the past. We've reworked it, updated it, and we're re-releasing it, and special releases never ship automatically. So if you are a member and you receive our kits every month, you don't have to worry about us automatically sending those to you. Although someone recently asked if we could just automatically send her everything, which I thought was a really cool question. Okay, so what I usually recommend to my students, when you have all the goodies and all the fun things that are included in a kit, until the layout has been prepared, all the papers trimmed, I usually have everyone just keep everything in the bag that the kit comes in. I'm just going to set aside all those marvelous goodies that we found, and let's go ahead and sort the paper in the order in which we'll be trimming it. So we're going to start out with a sheet, or two sheets of this metallic gold paper. And this is a little bit of a text weight feel, so make sure you just grab 2 of those. Then I'm looking for a red metallic. Now if you want, you can just place it down with the metallic side facing up. And then I'm looking for the actual cherry red. So 1 sheet of the metallic and 1 sheet of just regular red. Then we're going to go to the black plane. Then both guitar prints. So that you're going to take this guitar print and put it face down. And again on the next guitar print, face down. Then the microphone print, face down. Finally, we're going to finish our cutting process with the sheet of cut-aparts that has the big microphone tag. Put that face down. And then the other one that has the red strip on the far right. Gotta go face down. Next, find the 2 remaining red metallics. Put the metallic side down. Followed by 2 red planes. Then a black. Followed by the microphone print that's still here. And then you've got your 2 ivory linen planes. Those are going to be the foundation for layouts 1 and 2. So I'm going to take this whole entire stack that we just accumulated, flip everything back over so that the gold is back on top, and we should be situated for success with all of our trimming. Okay, remember there's no scraps in this entire project. Like there's literally not going to be a piece of paper that you have to throw away after you make all of these layouts. I think that's pretty neat. I'm taking 1 sheet of the gold. Make sure it's just 1 and not both, because it is a little bit of a lighter weight paper, so be careful here. And then I'm going to put it in my trimmer at 6 inches. And if you're new to the trimmer, just your tips are basically keep the paper flush with the top edge so that you create the perfect 90-degree cut. Okay, you don't want to cut crooked. And then always stabilize on the clear bar before you slice. And then essentially leave everything lay where it lands until I give you the next set of instructions. If you're new and I'm going way too fast for you, you can adjust your playback settings on your YouTube channel by clicking on the gear button in the lower right corner, and then you'll see a drop-down menu of different speeds. So like start with 0.75 and you'll get a much more chilled Tricia. Okay, so the 6x12s, I'm stacking both of those up that we just created. We'll trim them at the same time at 8 and 4. I'm going to gather up all of these pieces that are the same size that I just made. 3 of them are going to be placed in pocket 3 and 4. Now, if you're new to my little pocket organizer, I have a situation where you can follow along with me and make one of your own. I have a starter kit as well, and each pocket will hold all of the things we need for that particular page until we get to assemble it. So I'm going to go to pocket 3 and 4 and add 3 of those, and then layout 5 and 6 pocket will go there. So this is just a great way to use our vertical space to stay organized. Next, I'll take a gold plane. We're going to trim this other one at 10.5 and 6 1/4, keeping in mind that when you add a quarter to a whole number, you have to go to the left. So 6, and then 1 column to the left is 6 1/4. Rotate and cut at 8.5 and 4 1/4. Now, you just made 2 pieces that are the same size and also another skinnier piece. All 3 of these are placed in pocket 7 and 8. And then pick up the next piece to the right of the blade. We'll cut at 6 1/4. And take this piece you just created. That goes in 7 and 8. And then this, it's a little bit shorter piece. That goes in 3 and 4. The wide strip, 7 and 8. Our next piece to trim will be this. It's the metallic red, but I want you to trim it with the non-metallic side facing up. First cut is at 11.5, then 10.5, and 6.25. Rotate and cut at 8.5 and 4.25. We've just made two pieces that are the same, and they're going to go into pocket 3 and 4. Just a real quick note, what'll happen here is that the pieces we've created earlier, not this one, but these other ones, those are going to nest perfectly onto the mats that we just made out of the red. So it's kind of a cool thing. And then we have this rectangle. I want you to trim that horizontally at 3.5. It's going to make a square and a rectangle. Both of these pieces will be used on layout 3 and 4. Pick up the next piece, trim it horizontally at 6.25. And even though these pieces aren't the same size, they both go in pocket 3 and 4 again, as do the remaining two little strips here. So even these, all of that piece just basically went into pocket 3 and 4. Now, do you see what I'm doing here on the pieces that are larger than 12 inches? I just let them hang out up the side on the right so I can still see my numbers and letters on the left. Now we're going to go to the red. We'll cut this at 10.5. 9 and 6. Rotate this 6 by 12 and we'll cut at 8 and 4. Okay, gather up your 3 pieces you made, and they all go in pocket 1 and 2. Now we have this 3 by 12. We're going to cut this at 8 and 4 also. And all 3 of these rectangles that are the same size are going to go in pocket 1 and 2. It's like I planned it. And then also these 2 strips, pocket 1 and 2. Okay, now we're on to the black. We're going to make some really thin strips, so I'm going to give you really big numbers. That's 11 3/4, 11.5, 10 3/4, 10, 9, 7 3/4. We're just going along here. 6.5. One more. And 3 3/4. I hope you notice that I just let everything pile up. That's the secret to you and me being on the same page. If you start moving these pieces, that's a really bad idea, okay? I don't want you to lose track of what's going on down there, and all those pieces get filed. So now I'm rotating the piece we just created. We're going to cut this one at 9 1/4 and 5.5. All right, so this taller piece that goes in pocket 5 and 6. The next one, which should be a square, 1 and 2. And the next rectangle, 5 and 6. Pick up the very next piece. This is 2 3/4 by 12 right now. We'll trim at 11, 8 1/4, 5.5, and 2 3/4. Notice that I'm pushing on that clear bar every single time I make a cut. I don't want that paper to be moving. Now you just made a series of 4 squares. All 4 of them go in pocket 5 and 6. And then this little guy, we're going to use him in 7 and 8. Now the remaining pieces that are here, I'm going to carefully pick them up and just keep them in the order they landed. Put them in the palm of my non-dominant hand. And I have this widest strip here right on the top. That goes in 7 and 8, and the other wide strip goes in 5 and 6. Now we're getting a little skinnier. This next one goes in 5 and 6 as well. Then we should have 2 the same size. Both of them go in 7 and 8. And then we have 2 really skinny ones. Those are going to go in 1 and 2. Okay, now we have this beautiful guitar print. We're going to place it right side up into the trimmer and cut at 5 1/4. Both of these are used in layout 1 and 2. So what I'm going to do is just put this whole thing right on the bottom of my pile of remaining pieces, and that'll make sense in a little bit. Now on this next print, I'm going to have you add it to the trimmer so that it's kind of facing the side. So the words rock and roll are down here in the lower left corner. And let's just trim this one at 10 1/4 and 4 1/4. Gather up the two larger pieces. Those are both going to be used in pocket 5 and 6. And then the smaller one will go into pocket 3 and 4. And then next I have this guitar print. We're going to do some fun stuff with this. I'm going to trim it at 5 1/4. This piece we're going to deal with, this one with just the stars on it, that goes in 7 and 8. I think just to keep things rolling, I'm going to set this aside. We're going to do some creative cutting. You can do it with a craft knife and a cutting mat or a scissors, but we'll do that in just a minute. Now I'm going to bring in our cut aparts, and for those who are new, just to let you know that there's this little crosshair on each of the 4 outside corners that's designed to help us trim this down to a perfect 12 by 12. So I'm going to try to line up this vertical line of this crossbar with the edge of the outside edge of the blade on my trimmer. Now it's a little hard to see on that first cut that you make, just so that you know that's normal. And then rotate and then line them up again. Now when I make this rotation, I should be able to put this in at 12 inches and it should line up on the other side. And rotate one more time to take off the last piece. And now I have the perfect 12 by 12. So let's get this back to where the quote that says "I'm with the band" is on the far right. And I'll cut at 11, 10, 9 1/4, 8 1/2, 7 1/4, and 4. Now rotate this piece so that Born to Rock is on the right. We'll cut at 11 and 5 1/2. The microphone piece we'll put in pocket 3 and 4. Authenticity here, that goes in 5 and 6. And Born to Rock is 7 and 8. The next strip, I'll place it in the trimmer so that the records are on the right. And I'll cut at 8 3/4, 6 and 3. These 2 frames will be used in layout 7 and 8, as well as the journaling tag 7 and 8. And then there's the square journaling portion that goes in 3 and 4. Now, like we did before with the black pieces, I'm going to pick up the remaining strips so we can file them easily. The rock and roll strip 1 and 2. Then you've got a star border going into 5 and 6, and the other star border in 3 and 4. These are the Good Old Days 5 and 6, and I'm with the band is 7 and 8. We get to do the same exact thing with this next piece where we're going to remove that outer perimeter. Make it a 12 by 12. Nice and neat. Okay, once again, rotate the piece so that the rock and roll strip is on the right. And we'll begin at 10 3/4, then 10 1/4, 9 3/4, 7 1/4, and 3 3/4. Rotate, make sure the little journaling piece is on the right, and we'll cut at 11, 8 1/4, 5 1/2, 2 3/4. I'll gather up all those pieces we just made. The first 2 go in pocket 1 and 2, and as well as this little journaling prompt with the guitar on it. Can we start the weekend again? I wasn't ready. That's 3 and 4. And then we have this oval-shaped journaling prompt 1 and 2. Then I'll take this next piece. This text will be upside down. Don't Stop Believin' should be on your right. And our first cut is at 8 3/4 and 6 1/4. Okay, so my brain, this one goes in page 7 and 8. Then we've got this little journaling prompt with the flag, 5 and 6, or the banner rather. Don't Stop Believing, 3 and 4. Next piece goes in cowbell on the right, and we'll cut at 10, 7 and a half, and 5. Okay, rock and roll, that goes in pocket 7 and 8. Then we've got this one with the records on it, and records and wings. It's only rock and roll, and I need more cowbell. All of these are used on layout 5 and 6. Once again, we got some border strips here to file. The 2-star borders go in 7 and 8, and then the remaining rock and roll red strip goes in 1 and 2. Okay, so for just a second, I'm going to grip my folder with all the goodies inside, and then just peel it away from the trimmer, and grab my cutting mat and a craft knife. What I'm going to do here is cut along the edge of the microphone. So I'll just start right here. Now, if you're newer to using a pen knife like this, make sure you hold it like a pen and not like a utility knife. That would be a utility knife. This is a pen knife. And notice that I'm going to rotate the piece that I'm cutting. And my dominant hand is my right hand. So that's going to do the cutting, and the left hand is going to do the supporting. Rather than move my arm into uncomfortable positions, I'll just continually rotate the paper so that I'm working at a comfortable angle. You can be as detailed as you would like. You can just, again, you can do this with scissors as well. Perfect, that's exactly what I'm looking for. If you wanted to, you could even go along this edge and remove this portion, but I just chose to keep it. Then I'm going to, this is going to be used in layout 7 and 8, so maybe I'll just pop that in there for now. And then, because I don't want anything to go to waste, I still want you to grab the remnant. This part isn't going to be used. And then we're going to trim at 2 1/4 and 2 1/4. Get a little square out of that. And that's used in layout 5 and 6. So I guess I slightly misspoke when I said there were no scraps, because we didn't use this part. We'll set this all aside. Now at this point we can turn to the last page of our instructions, that's page 5, and look at the picture labeled 7 and 8. And then I'm going to take the entire stack of remaining papers and put it in front of me so that the center of the stack is at the center of my workspace, and then just slide over the top sheet. So that's going to give me these 2 red metallic papers on my work surface. I have a whole stack here and then the other plain one here. Now, if I look in my image, you can see that's exactly what I should have. The 2 12x12 red metallic, left base and right base. So that's kind of nifty. Now I can go to my pocket and grab everything out of pocket 7 and 8. Because again, we're starting from the back, working our way to the front, so that when we arrive at the beginning, layout number 1 is on top and we're ready to assemble. So the piece that we lovingly trimmed out with our craft knife or scissors is going to be placed right into the left corner. And then we have a nice gold strip, a wide black strip, and then I'm with the band. Should all nest beautifully together on the upper left corner there. And then you can add 2 horizontal gold mats. These are the 4x6s, so adjust your positioning accordingly. Those will go in the corner there. And then we do have this tag-shaped journaling prompt, so you can use either scissors or a craft knife and ruler to cut the angles to make it look like a tag. And that's going to be tucked right behind the record player, kind of in a cute way. And that's actually where I added a gold guitar charm. So now I have a winged guitar, right? Isn't that clever? I don't know if Jack planned it that way, but it sure worked nice. Then I'm taking the other half of that microphone print, and it's going to get a strip on either side of it, a black strip. And I still want a little bit of red peeking through on the right, and you can nest more stars on top of the black strip. Now what we've done is created this dedicated space, and it gives us the perfect amount of room to add this cut apart at the top. And that's why I put the black portion of this print at the top, so I'd have a little contrast around that border. Then another 4x6 photo mat, and then the skinny mat just happens to fit perfectly in there along with our 2 little frames. I Love Rock and Roll can go here. Now, if you take scissors and you cut this out perfectly aligned with the edges, like I used my trimmer for the straight edges and used scissors to cut in, and then I did the same thing with this black tag, and I could nest it. It's perfect fit. So I just put this piece here with this little chevron cut into it and added that to the top. On the finished layout, you can see that. So here you can see I cut the detail out of the cut apart, and it just happens to be the perfect nesting width for the black. Would have been scrap, and I cut the same V shape into it with scissors. And that's really all there is to finishing that side of the page, other than just gluing everything down and adding your pictures. And then on layout 7, the difference here is that I ran some of our bookbinding glue from a needle tip applicator along the edge after I'd adhered it, run a bead line of glue, and then add the cord, and then just cut it with the scissors at the end. I didn't wrap this around to the back. I glued it on from end to end. I mean, one continuous line of glue holds everything in place with that. And I also used our bookbinding glue to attach the gold charm. Works like a charm. Pun intended there. Okay, so now I'm going to do the stack and slide. Take layout 7 and scoot that on top of layout 8. And then take one more piece and slide that, and that should give me the 2 reds required for the base of layouts 5 and 6. And again, you can see the red listed here, LB and RB. Since we're working with layout 5 and 6, I need to empty that particular pocket. Make sure you always get everything out. All right, let's start by putting these larger pieces down first. So you want authenticity kind of up here, and then the cowbell down here. I love how cutting the piece the way we did allows it to look different than it did in the previous time it was used. Now this is kind of tricky. This piece sits on top of that print along with these are the good old days. So find the black strip that nests with this, and then flush with the edge here of this piece, we're going to add that strip along with the stars. Now in this area, we're going to put a vertical black mat that is the same height as this piece, rock and roll piece. And then how about 2 black squares? And you'll see later that I used a corner chopper around the corners. And that's where I was able to nest this piece. And then we've got this cute little guy going on here. Now on the left, we've got some gold mats. And then a vertical mat. This black piece should nest the journaling prompt to kind of allow us some contrast there. 2 black squares across the bottom. Then you have It's Only Rock and Roll, and then I need more cowbell up over here. Yay! Such a fun little double page spread here. Let's take a look at our finished pages. You can see those rounded corners, and then where the wing comes out of the side here. And then on this side, I didn't even use any ribbon or anything on this, just the one wing, and there's a lot going on, so it's all good. You can see this kind of showing out in this space. As you're adding adhesive, be careful not to add adhesive to the right side of this piece so you can still get a photo behind there. I'd like to kind of keep that in mind for future assembly. Okay, then I'm going to pick this red paper up and slide it over. And slide one more time. And now I should have the base I need for layouts 3 and 4, and I do. So now I can get out the folder for that. Okay, now you have the choice with this metallic red. On this one, you can use it whichever side up you prefer. I thought it was fun to have a little variety here. I'm going to take this big flashy piece and put it across the top. I usually like to get my border strips in place early in the game. We got a berry that can nest with this. And then sort of in between, then we can start determining the sizes of things or the separation. I'll take one of these, let's see, 4 1/4 by 6 1/4 red mats. And that's what determines the separation between this piece and this piece. And you can nest that with a gold. Okay, now here's, if you're having trouble figuring out what goes where, there should be a gold piece that nests perfectly onto this, and I did use a corner chomper around the corners, punched a hole and tied some ribbon around the top there. That's going to fit right into that spot. And then there's another piece that's the same exact size, and that fits right beneath it beautifully. Now again, if you wanted to, you could flip it over to the metallic side. Totally up to you. I liked the contrast I was getting, which is why I kept it that way. I did do some fussy cutting around this cut apart, and that fits right in that spot. And the same is true for this Don't Stop Believing. This kind of can tuck under here after you make it an oval, just with scissors. And then I added some of these really sweet little velour wrapped hearts. Now here's what happened. I used bookbinding glue and a pretty heavy dose to glue these into place, but then I didn't let it dry long enough and then they slid, and you don't want that to happen, so don't be like me, okay? Now on the left, you've got 2 angled mats, and then I'll nest those with some gold. It really makes a pop, doesn't it? I love that. This goes across here. If you wanted to, you could run it behind, but I did put the studded cord on that. And then if you want round corners, you can do that as well here with this one and this one. Just because they're neighbors, do them both. They'll look really nice. So here is the finished page on the right. You can see where it slid. Don't be like me. Let it dry completely. My fussy cut oval, real nice. And then this one I just fussy cut as well, and it fits perfectly. I added a wing behind this mat, and then there's the ribbon wrapped around at the back here. Just a real subtle addition. Then on the facing page, here I have my heart also, so carrying it over to the other side. I just placed it right over the journaling prompt, again, the rounded corners. Here, once I attached this strip, I used my ruler to help me guide the application of the bookbinding glue to the spot, and then just carefully added the cord and once again trimmed the ends. Also, I took a craft knife and just ran it along the edge of this record. Once I sort of knew where this piece would sit, I marked where it was sitting, and then I cut an area so I could slide this behind. So that's kind of tucked in back there. I'm going to do the stack and slide one last time. So bring this on over, and then one more piece should be able to slide to give us our ivory bases for layouts 1 and 2. And if you remember correctly, we did create these 2 pieces and set them aside because they're kind of big to go into our folder. So those are the 2 pieces we'd set aside going on the left and right edges. And then I can empty everything else out of pocket 1 and 2. And I like to separate, when I do this, I like to create some contrast. So I'm going to add what I call is a paper ribbon, sort of in between the 2 pieces that we've trimmed and the base. Then across the bottom, I have a solid red nested with rock and roll, and the same is happening up here, a solid red nested with rock and roll. And if you're trying to figure out what's going on in the picture, it's because I ran this ribbon then across that, and I added the little rhinestone buckle charms to the ribbon. So to do that, you just have your ribbon end, and you thread it from the back over the little bar in the middle, and then back through again. And then just pull it to your desired spot on the buckle and straighten up the ribbon. The ribbon's a little on the wide side to use on this, but it gathers it up in a pretty way. So that's how that's going to work going into that. What else do we have here? How about some photo mats? Because, you know, we're here to scrapbook. These should fit like a glove right into that spot we created. Oh, I just love it when that happens. Here we have a vertical mat. Now we're going to take this smaller. This is a 3x4. And we pre-designed all these sizes in anticipating like fun and easy ways to fit these together. And then the other 3x4 will go horizontally with a journaling prompt. And you see the guitar on the prompt. If I can find it. There is a gold guitar charm somewhere. Oh, there it is. Right here. This is why I have you keep those things in your bag, because it's easy to lose. But that charm is a replica. I love it. Okay, then 2, I took this large star and I kind of guesstimated where I wanted to tuck it. I even tucked in the end with the hole behind the strip, and then I just marked it and cut it with my trimmer so that the edge of the star is on the edge of the page rather than a point. Okay, then there's room for a 3x4 or this 3 3/4 inch square. And this will nest with this. You can clip the corners as we kind of tend to do. Add a hole, wrap some ribbon around to the top, and then this guy can even fit right up in that little spot right there, like a glove. So here's your finished layouts with the ribbon slide added. Just thread that on there. You can see the cut edge of the star. I think it really helps it. It helps anchor it a little bit. Otherwise, if the point was just right here, it would create some weird tangents I wouldn't be happy with. Another winged charm. And then this is just added and taped around to the border strip before I attached it to the page. There's the guitar charm attached with our bookbinding glue. And then finally, we've got this beautiful strip down over here, the guitars, the wing, and then as I mentioned, the ribbon wrapping its way around to the back. So again, the only scraps that we had were from that one microphone print where we cut around. Everything else has been used, hopefully in a really fun way. And maybe you have some fun pictures in mind for how you're going to scrapbook this collection. I know my daughter loves live music, loves to go to concerts, and she can't wait to get back out there and attend a few live shows, hopefully in the very near future, and I hope the same is true for you. Enjoy, rock star, and I'll see you again soon in class. Thanks for joining me.